How to shift timelines. In this video, I want to talk about two different concepts about how to shift timelines. And the second part is something that I find a lot of people talking about shifting timeline don't talk a lot about. And I think this is a very important part. So stay tuned, please. But first, I'm going to talk about how I perceive timelines. And the first experience I've had of timelines was when I was having a session. This was about 12, 13 years ago, in the beginning of my career as a healer, very soon after my awakening. And I didn't know he was a time traveler. And at the time I had two sessions with two different men who were both time travelers. And so this was one of them. And what I perceived that he was doing is that he would leave his body in astral travel. He would go and have a nap, but leave his body, and he would start going through different dimensions and different timelines, and he would be like a light spear, like weaving light through different timelines. And I didn't understand at the time why I was telling him this, because he was just confirming what I was saying. I was like, I don't know why I'm seeing this, and I don't know why I'm telling you this, if you already know this. And he said, it's a confirmation, because you're confirming that what I'm doing is real. It's not just something that I'm imagining and doing. It's real because you're also perceiving it. I was like, okay, cool. But now, 12, 13 years later, I'm also understanding the value of having seen that vision. So what I saw was that it was like a book, like a thick book. And you open the book, and each leaf of paper was a dimension or a timeline. But as it was folding through this book, each leaf of paper had it didn't take up any space. It's like it's like the book like this, but it was infinite. Like it could have been as big as creation itself, right? Which it is, because it was holding all the timelines. And there are infinite amount of timelines in creation. Just as we as individual creators, individual souls, have infinite timelines. If you imagine that this is as if the butterfly effect, as if you're taking each different actions from the morning, whether you're going to make your coffee the first thing in the morning or you go to the bathroom, a new timeline is being created depending on these specific actions you're taking. And this is important because understanding that there are infinite amount of timelines means that you can shift into a timeline where you have different things. A timeline where you're happier, where you're more at peace, where you have more love in your life, where you are embodied love, where you have the most amazing relationships, where you have incredible abundance in every area of your life, where you have your dream house, where you have your dream car, where you live in a place where you're so happy to be. And so, how do you create that? Like, how do you shift into a different timeline than the timeline that you're in? So there are two important aspects that I've learned. The first one is tuning into the frequency of this other you that's in a different timeline. And closing your eyes and taking a moment, preferably after meditation, where you have calm and centered spirit and your mind is able to focus. And going into the frequency of imagining how it would feel like to be that person that has this or that. And if there's some area of your life where you feel lack right now, so imagining that area of your life to be fulfilled. And how does that feel like? What is the actual frequency of that area of your life being fulfilled? How does that feel like? Because as you're feeling into it, you're feeling into the frequency of that. And as you're feeling into that, you're connecting with your other self. That is living that reality. And as you're tuning into these other self that is living that reality, you can start communicating with your other self. And what you want to communicate is, you want to ask the other self is, what are you doing in your day-to-day life to have what you're having? Down to the nitty-gritty, because that's really what creates our life. It's our daily habits. It's the little things that we do without noticing it. It's our morning routine. It's our mindset. It's our perception of the world, of ourselves. It's our identity. How does this other self see herself, himself in the world? How does he or she wake up in the morning? What's the first thing that he or she does? What are the little habits? What are the practices? What's the mindset? What are the thoughts? Because to really shift into that frequency, you have to take on a different identity. So you have to become clear what this other self, what is the identity of this other self of you? And how does he, she go through life? You tune into the frequency, so you know how that feels like. Now you want to become really practical. You want to look at the little things that he or she does in our day-to-day life. And then you want to continue to feel into that frequency as you're changing the identity of yourself. And then there's the second part. This is what I mentioned, that I feel like a lot of people are talking about shifting timelines or manifestations is missing. And that's the part of, what do we need to let go of to be able to shift into this other identity of ourselves? What do we need to purge? What identity of ourselves do we need to let go of? What attachments from the past do we need to let go of? What resentment? What disappointment? And this is something that we might need help from a healer, we might need help from a shaman, we might need help from a plant medicine, or a combination of them all. We might need to work with a psychologist, we might need to work with someone that can help us shift our mind so that we can think in a different way. And best is to approach them in many different ways. We might need to change our diet and change our exercise routine. We might need to shift our relationships. We might need to spend time with other people. We are most likely need to watch other kind of media. And that's an interesting question to tune into this other self is, what kind of books do this other self read? How much time on internet does this other self spend? And on what sites? And how does this other self interact on social media? What are the habits? What is the nitty-gritty? And then look at our current self. What is it that I need to let go of in this current moment to shift into this other self? What kind of clothes does this other self wear? How do this other self relate to herself or himself? The identity is so important. It's tuning into the frequency, but becoming really clear, what is this identity? And so if you're looking for fulfillment, for example, and you don't know how it would feel to be fulfilled because you've never been fulfilled ever in your life, in any area of your life, then look for people in your vicinity that are fulfilled in their life, in some area of their life. Look online for people that are deeply fulfilled. Like that has the frequency of fulfillment. And when you start asking the universe, like, show me people that has fulfilled that, because I really want to fulfill that, and I want to shift into a timeline where I have that fulfilled. And so then finding people outside of yourself, in your world, in your vicinity, online, that has reached that fulfillment, and then tune into that frequency, because you can. By just looking for that frequency, you will tune into it. And the more you take these steps, all of a sudden you will be in a different timeline. And you will be a different you. And you have a different identity. And you will live a different life. And it will feel normal. Because you've been tuning in and shifting into that frequency of becoming that you. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like the video. Please subscribe. Thank you. So much love.